Welcome back. So today we will discuss about a very specifically human excretory system. After getting a proper understanding about the excretory aspect, how it got developed, how it got evolved in lower invertebrates and vertebrates. The very specialized structure which we will discuss today is kidney. So this kidney is a paired organ. Let's try and go to the slide here, and we will try to see that what are the specific content in kidney. So starting from the location, it is located in between the last thoracic and the third lumbar vertebrae. So if we start looking and go back and try to recollect our knowledge of the human skeleton system, it is started with this neck region vertebra, which we call the cervical. Then you have this thoracic vertebra, which is the chest, then you have lumbar, then you have sacral, and the last one, which is the tail region, is what you call caudal vertebra. So this is a complete vertebral column. So the location of kidney is in between, if you go to the slide once again, in between the last thoracic and third lumbar vertebrae. So basically these are the abdominal cavity. And this abdominal cavity is not in the ventral side. So this is ventral, this is dorsal. So basically this is located in the dorsal wall of the abdominal cavity and in between the last thoracic and third lumbar vertebrae. Length is about 10 to 12 centimeter, width is about 5 to 7, and thickness is about 2 to 3 centimeter. These are all approximation based on the different age group and all. And weight is approximately 120 to 170 grams, and it largely varies according to the health condition as well as age wise. Let's see the human excretory system as such. So human excretory system. Now this human excretory system comprises of a pair of kidney. So a pair of kidney, a pair of the ductal system we call ureter, a bladder where the urine is getting stored, we called it urinary bladder, and a final opening that is giving specific drainage to the urine, and that is urethra. So these are the 6 components of human excretory system: a pair of kidney, a pair of ureter, a urinary bladder, and a urethra. That is the last opening of the urinary system that is giving passage to the formed urine actually. So let us see the kidney, actual kidney structure and the specification. So this kidney is located in the dorsal side of the body cavity, dorsal side, at what we discussed just now, the location and all, and these are especially located in the abdominal cavity, not in the thoracic cavity where the lung is situated. So the kidney is roughly bean shaped. So reddish brown in color, internal organ of a human body is covered by some sort of membrane, and there is similar kind of membrane present in outside this kidney. This specific covering is in order to protect the internal delicate cellular part of the kidney from any external injury, and because of this reason this particular outside covering is very important. Now as I discussed earlier also, that each and every organ in human body is related with some prefix or suffix. In case of kidney, people are using a term called renal. Now renal is very specific terminology used to designate anything related to kidney. So outside covering is called renal capsule. renal capsule is nothing but the outside protective covering of kidney, exactly similar to what we discussed in lung called pleura. So, the pleura is outer covering, here renal capsule is outer covering. Now, if we see the structure aspect here, so this is body cavity. Now, this is lateral, this is called lateral. Lateral means towards the periphery. If this is, suppose this is kidney here, this is called lateral, and towards the body cavity, this is called medial. So, medial is what is there in the towards the center. So, medial side, or the side which is towards the body cavity, is having a depression, and this depression is called hilum or hilus. This is nothing but an entry point. Now, this hilum is giving entry to the blood, also giving exit to the deoxygenated blood, and also the filtrating stuff which is filtering out from the kidney with the form of a duct. So, this is kind of an entry and exit point. So, this is kind of an entrance to this kidney. Now, the one which is supplying blood to the kidney is called same thing, renal, because renal is associated with anything related to kidney, and since it is supplying blood, so it is always artery, because this is oxygenated blood, and something which is draining the impure blood out from the kidney is called, say, renal vein. So, renal artery and the vein are the circulatory aspect of kidney, and these are entering and coming out from an area called hilum. Now, this artery is nothing but a part of dorsal aorta. So, this the big artery is called aorta, and this vein is part of the bigger vein which is called vena cava. So, there will be a supply of nerve, and this nerve supply is also starting with a name called renal, and we can simply call nerve. So, after filtration, so what is filtering is blood. So, blood is coming inside, having all the nitrogenous waste material, and then these nitrogenous waste material are getting filtered into this inside this system, and whatever filtered out urine is coming out with a very specific ductal system, and this ductal system is called ureter. So, what we have is this ureter. So, there will be a pair kidney lobes, and then you have two ureters, and then these ureters are draining the complete urine into a specific kind of bladder, and this bladder is called urinary bladder. So, we have ureter, and then this ureter is converging into urinary bladder, and this urinary bladder is opening into outside environment to drain the urine, and that is called urethra. So, urethra is outside opening that is giving passage to the urine. Now, this urinary bladder is very important. Now, think about a condition. The whole body system is divided into all different tissue types. So, there are many different kind of tissue type. It's specialized to do a particular kind of function in human body. Urinary bladder is very unique. Why it is unique? Because sometimes this is partially filled, sometimes it is full filled, sometimes it is having nothing. So, this urinary bladder is kind of a sac which is giving flexibility to the system, because this flexibility will accommodate more and more urine or less urine, depends upon the content coming out from the kidney. So, there will be a requirement. So, there will be a requirement of a very specific tissue inside this system in order to flex and contract accordingly. So, these kind of tissues, the tissue which I am going to discuss now is very important, and it is located exclusively in urinary bladder, and those tissues are called transitional epithelium. Transitional epithelium. Suppose if you want to see that what is there inside the chalk, then we have to really cut this chalk, right. So, if we cut the chalk like this, so this is called cross section. This because the chalk is coming like this. So, this is cross section. If I break the chalk, it is not possible here. So, if I break the chalk like this, the whole like vertically, then you call it longitudinal. So, we can break the chalk in such a way that it will bifurcate in two parts. So, basically if you see here in kidney, if you take a section like this, you called it longitudinal section. If you take the section like this, you called it cross section. So, let us see, because cross section will not give much of the detail. So, we will try to see the longitudinal section of this kidney and how this longitudinal is giving very specifically what is there inside kidney. So, let us see inside our kidney. Now, what we have discussed that we are going to take a longitudinal section. So, let us cut the kidney longitudinally. So, if we see the longitudinal section, let us cut the kidney longitudinally. So, we have this bean shaped structure, and then we have this hilum. Now, any organ, if you take section, any organ, the middle portion is specifically called something, and the outer surface area is called something. In any section, the outer surface area is called cortex, and the inner surface area, the internal aspect, is called medulla. So, medulla is the internal and the cortex is the external part of any cross section of internal organ in human body. Now, if you see the structure here, this, as I said, these are grossly bean shaped structure, and now we have internally differentiated two area, cortex and medulla. Now, the cortical region is having outside covering, and then in medullary area we have a small kind of pyramid like a structure. So, these are pyramid like structure inside medulla, and these areas are called as medullary pyramid, or simply we can say renal pyramid or renal pyramids. So, these are renal pyramids, the area in the medullary region. So, basically this outside is what you have cortex, and the inside is medulla, and in medulla you have a specific kind of junctions or specific pyramidal kind of structure called renal pyramids. Because they are located in medulla, they are also called as medullary pyramids. These pyramids are tapered, that tapered area is called calyx. Now, this calyx is the tapered area of this renal pyramid that is collecting all this stuff. Now, this all tapered area, the renal calyx, we can simply call it renal calyx because it is a part of renal system. Now, this renal calyx are merging to a common point, and this common point where all the renal pyramids are merging. So, this is kind of all merging point. So, these renal pyramids are merging in a common area, and that is called pelvis. We can simply call it renal pelvis. So, this pelvis area is nothing but the converging point of all calyx. So, this is how the internal aspect look like when you do a longitudinal section. The one thing I missed out regarding a very important gland that is located in the top of the kidney. Now, I will just discuss that point after finishing this one. And this is again collecting all the stuff in the form of what we have discussed is ureter. So, ureter is what is finally collecting all the fluid coming out from this pelvis area. So, this is all about here what we have discussed is a longitudinal section. Of course, we have here renal artery, and then again we have renal vein, and then we have renal nerve. So, we have renal artery, renal vein and renal nerve also once you do a cross section, and of course, you have also an outer covering, and that you call renal capsule. So, renal capsule is what? Is giving protection to this whole structure. Now, next will be nephrons. So, nephrons we will discuss in next, but before going to nephrons, let us discuss one important thing. Now, one more thing which I forget here is regarding the columns here. So, these are the columns. So, basically these columns are lying in the medullary region. So, let's finish. So, this is ureter, and these are renal pyramids, these are pelvis, and these are calyx. So, this tapered end is called calyx. Now, this column which are lying in between two pyramids are very specifically called renal columns, because these are columns. Now, these are nothing but the extension part of the cortex. These are called columns. These are called renal column, renal columns, or sometimes they are very specifically called columns of Bertini. So, they are simply columns of Bertini. So, columns of Bertini is nothing but the extension of cortical part into the medullary region. So, these columns are the extension of the cortical part into the medullary region, or simply we can say the space in between the two medullary pyramid or renal pyramid is giving an area which is like a column, and these columns are called renal columns or columns of Bertini. So, this is just simply a nomenclature or simply a name which is associated with these kidney globules, and sometimes people can ask you that what is column of Bertini? Column of Bertini is nothing but the columns located in the kidney, and we will now discuss about the specific structure in the kidney, and that is nephrons. So, let us see the nephrons, but before going to nephrons, we will try to discuss a very important structure associated with the kidney, and since it is associated with the kidney, that is why it came into my mind that we should discuss this one here, that we have kidney. So, suppose this what we have discussed now. So, we have this two kidney, ureter, urinary bladder and urethra. Top of kidney, so here there is a very specific gland, they are called ad. Ad means on the top renal. So, adrenal is a gland, endocrine gland. So, in the body we have two types of gland, one is called endocrine, the other is called exocrine. So, I am not going to go and discuss about this stuff, but exocrine is the gland which are having duct directly secreting the secretion in the ducts, while endocrines are something which are not secreted out through the ductal system. So, endocrine gland, this is one such endocrine gland, sometimes it is also called as suprarenal or simply adrenal. Why these are important? Now, these glands are secreting a very specific hormones. So, endocrine glands are known to secrete hormones. So, these endocrine glands are secreting a very specific hormone called adrenaline. So, adrenaline is a very important hormone secreted by adrenal gland, which is located in the top of the kidney. So, these are the paired endocrine glands which are secreting the hormone called adrenaline, and this is very important hormone to maintain the human physiology. So, till now we have this kidney, and then I will just draw here like that, and then you have this pyramid. Now, let us see and dig this one out, that what is there inside these small pyramids. So we have this pyramids, and this tapered area is what we call calyx, which is merging in a larger area, right. So these are all merged areas. So there is another pyramid, this is merging in a common area called pelvis. If we see the individual structure of one nephron, so nephron, this nephron is nothing but ductal system. So suppose blood is coming towards this nephron, afferent. So this afferent duct is having lot of convolution inside. So this afferent duct, we will see this afferent duct in detail, and then something is going out. This outgoing is called efferent. So afferent duct and efferent duct. Afferent duct is one which is carrying blood towards the nephron, and efferent duct is one which is carrying out from the system. So this is a filtering unit. So blood is coming and these are getting filtered in a very unique capsule like structure. So this is a very nice capsule like structure. So this will just draw here. We will see this capsule like structure later on. So this is a capsule like structure, and this capsule is called Bowman Capsule. Bowman's capsule. So this Bowman's capsule is an area where the filtering unit is this kind of anastomosis. This is a very specific terminology people are using in order to show that there are a lot of branching of this capillary. These are very thin capillary. We will try to understand how this capillaries are built up in this area. So this capillary, the meshwork of this capillary is called glomerulus. Glomerulus. And this glomerulus are sitting in the base or sitting in the top of and something base material is called Bowman's capsule. And this whole structure, including afferent, efferent, glomerulus and Bowman capsule, is called Malpighian body. So the same what we have discussed in the cockroach, that you have a unique organ called Malpighian body. So this whole Bowman capsule, glomerulus and afferent and efferent is called Malpighian body or Malpighian corpuscles. So blood is coming and then passing through this meshwork which is called glomerulus, and then filtering all this stuff here. So the unwanted water is filtered out, containing all the salt material and everything through this capsular structure which is Bowman capsule, and filtered blood is going out by efferent duct. Now this whole filtered unit is collected in another specialized duct which is called proximal convoluted tubules. So these are proximal convoluted tubules. In short, we will simply say PCT, proximal convoluted tubules. So these are collecting all the urine here. Lot of convolution, so that's why they are calling, lot of circular waves are there. So because of this region, these are called proximal convoluted tubules, PCT. So what is here is we have this meshwork, and this is afferent, and then you have Bowman capsule, and Bowman capsule is getting continued into this convoluted structure which is called proximal convoluted tubules. So this is afferent duct, this is efferent duct, this is Bowman capsule, this is glomerulus. We will just write in the short. This whole proximal convoluted tubule is kind of continuing into a straight U-shaped loop. So this is a very unique loop like structure which is running right from the proximal convoluted tubule and then continuing as a continuous U-shaped structure. In the beginning it is thick and then it is narrowing down, uniform narrowing and then forming a U-shaped structure. This is a very unique structure, and we will discuss the physiological importance of this structure in our later classes. This is called Henle's loop. Henle's, name of the scientist, and this is just a loop, U-shaped loop. So Henle loop is nothing but a U-shaped. This is continuing as a, again, very convoluted area, which is nothing but this was proximal. We can simply call distal convoluted tubules, and in short we call DCT, distal convoluted tubules. So these are distal area, and finally they are getting collected in this duct, which is called collecting duct. Collecting duct. So I'll just try to summarize this whole structure once again. So we have here the Malpighian body, which is full of afferent duct, efferent duct, Bowman capsule, glomerulus. It is continuing into proximal convoluted tubules, again continuing into U-shaped structure, which is called Henle's loop, and this Henle loop is again continuing into distal convoluted tubule, and distal convoluted tubule is finally collecting everything in this collecting duct, which will continue into a urethra ultimately. So now we will see this whole structure, how this whole structure is linked to our pyramid. So this is the whole nephron. So one nephron will have all this ingredient inbuilt. Now if we start looking how these structures are associated with our renal area, with our pyramidal structure. So let's delete this whole part and try to see how these are arranged in the renal pyramid area. So if we again draw, so this is our kidney, and we discussed this is a pyramidal area, and these are kind of collecting duct. For individual pyramid, we will see here is the glomerulus. So this is afferent, this is afferent. So glomerulus is connecting, this is convoluted tubule, and this Henle loop is kind of crossing to this medullary area, and then distal connected convoluted tubules is here, and then you have a collecting duct also. So what is happening here, that you have the upper area and the last area, the distal convoluted tubule, is located in the cortical region, and the other region, the loops of Henle or Henle's loop, is what is going and getting inside this renal pyramid or this pyramidal area. So the upper area is kind of floating in the cortical side, and the lower area is what is hanging inside this renal pyramid area. So suppose if these nephrons are such a way that if this Henle's loops are very short or absent, so basically the Henle's loop are not there or maybe very short in this area. Now how this can be explained? So all the stuff is now in the cortex side. So can we call this nephron as a cortical nephrons? So why? Because all the structure are lying in the cortex region. So the cortex is the upper part, because Henle's loop is not located or is highly reduced. We will see in the next slide when I will try to cover it up in those whole aspects. So this is cortical nephrons. So these cortical nephrons are very uniquely having very less or absent Henle's loop. If this Henle's loop is there, the things are getting into the medulla. So this is called juxtamedullary nephrons. So these nephrons are second type of nephrons, where the Henle's loop is kind of traveling in the medullary area, the medulla region of the cortex. That's why this is called as juxtamedullary nephrons. Now if you go back in the next slide, we will try to see that what is there in the what are the difference between these cortical nephrons and juxtamedullary nephrons. One is located in the cortex, the other is located in cortex medullary junction. The total percentage wise, if you look, the maximum percentage is of cortical nephrons, and the less percentage is of 15% is approximately of juxtamedullary nephrons. The length, as I explained earlier, the length of Henle's loop is very short, and in case of juxtamedullary nephrons, it is very long. And one thing which I missed out, and now I am going to explain it, is called vasa recta. So, vasa recta is absent or highly reduced in case of cortical nephrons, and juxtamedullary nephron it is present. So, we have our this afferent and efferent. Now, I will draw in the scale. So, we have afferent and the efferent, and then we have this glomerulus, Bowman capsule, and here we have proximal convoluted tubules, and this is crossing the medullary region, going again back to the cortex region when we have distal convoluted tubule, and then we have this collecting tubules. So, here the area is cortex, and here we have medulla. So, basically we have this medulla. Now, this Henle's loop is long in the juxtamedullary nephrons. There is a parallel artery or parallel capillary system running in both cortical nephrons and the juxtamedullary nephrons. So, there is a group of capillary systems. So, there are a lot of blood supply running parallelly to this Henle's loop, and this parallel supply of this capillary is kind of crossing this Henle's loop in and around. So, this capillary network in and around Henle's loop is called vasa recta. Since this vasa recta is associated with the Henle's loop, if the Henle's loop is absent, vasa recta is absent. If Henle's loop is present, vasa recta is present. This is the simple explanation. So, in the cortical nephrons, we are saying that the cortical, if you go back to the slide here once again, length of the Henle's loop is very short in case of cortical nephron. If length of the Henle's loop is very short, that means there is no vasa recta or maybe very less. But in case of juxtamedullary nephrons, we have a huge Henle's loop. So, because of this region, your vasa recta is always present in case of juxtamedullary nephrons. So, remember one thing, vasa recta is a capillary network, peritubular network, capillary kind, the blood circulatory environment around this Henle's loop area. This is very much present in case of juxtamedullary nephron, but it is absent in the cortical nephron. Why? Because there is no Henle's loop or highly reduced Henle loop in cortical nephrons. So, this afferent duct is having lot of this structure which we call glomerulus, and then we are passing the filtered blood. So, this is unfiltered blood. So, blood is coming, these are not filtered, and here the blood is filtered. Blood is filtered. Here the blood is not filtered. Now, this whole area is what we have discussed is called a capsular structure, we call Bowman capsule, and this is proximal convoluted tubules. Now, here if you start looking into this capillary is very unique. So, the capillary area, if you start looking into this capillary area, so let us try to see this particular structure here. So, if you see here, we have this inner side, we call it endothelium. So, suppose if we draw like this. So, this is endothelium. The blood is coming from this direction, and this is called endothelium, the inner lining. So, we will call endothelium. Endothelium is always the inner lining of blood vessel, and the blood is carrying in this direction. The outer covering, this epithelium, this is actually this outer area. The outer area of this one is having lot of projection. So, here also lot of projections are there. These are very unique capillary in the human body, and this area where these are the finger like projection in the outer epithelial layer of this capillary is called podocyte. Podocyte. And this podocyte are having, and in this area they are having a lot of small holes, and these holes is basically giving the entry of water, and remaining solute and other thing is getting trapped by that hole, and this hole size is very unique. So, this is not allowing the RBC to come out, but then it is allowing only water molecule, some solute, unwanted solute, some of the salt, and a lot of other things are coming out. Of course, we will try to understand here that in later part these all nutrients which are important for our body is getting absorbed in those all tubular areas, but most of the water is getting out, filtered out. So, this is kind of a strainer. If you try to compare this one with a tea strainer, this is similarly like that. So, you have tea here, and this is getting strained by this podocyte. So, if you try to mix here, so you have lot of podocyte here, and these podocyte are having this small holes, we call it fenestra. So, I am not putting lot of name here, but this small holes is the area where the water is getting down into this tube, which is ultimately forming the urine. So, this is the actual concept. This is nothing but the filtration of blood. If one can ask what is the actual content which is getting filtered. So, one should know that if you have blood coming into this area, blood is having two parts. One is cellular part, which is having all red blood cell, white blood cell, platelet and other kind of thing, and then you have a watery part, and this watery part is called plasma. So, this is nothing but the filtration of plasma, because RBC you do not have anything, these are all cellular part, you can't filter out the cell. But what you need to filter out is plasma, because all the waste material and everything is carried through the plasma. So, plasma is the actual drainage, and this drainage needs to be filtered out through this apparatus. So, the plasma is getting filtered. So, one can say the terminology in a different way. Blood is passing through this convoluted glomerulus area, and the plasma is getting filtered out. So, this is very unique aspect about this whole structure of glomerulus.